Welcome back, Honors. All right, so let's finish up our Mesoamerican or Native Indigenous people of Americas kind of stuff. And then tomorrow, really quick thing, speaking of the weather, I think I mentioned this in class today, but if I didn't, I apologize. If I didn't get into it in class today, then I want to give you a heads up that you will have a flip tomorrow as well, just so we can kind of stay on track, okay? Because we can't afford to lose any of these days. So keep that in mind. Listen to this flip. You will have another flip tomorrow, so you'll have two flips due on Thursday, because today's only Tuesday. You'll have two flips due on Thursday should school be canceled tomorrow, okay? So, well, let's get after it, all right? By the way, if I keep looking at my, cactus Bert here, it's just because I'm trying to see if he's blooming or not. But anyway, let's get after it. So we started talking about the Incas today in class, right? We talked about the Aztecs, we talked about the Maya, we talked about the Olmecs, the Nazcas, right? The more advanced civilizations that exist, particularly in Central and South America. Now, we focus on these guys a lot simply because they're much more advanced. Much more culturally appropriated. Well, not appropriated. That's the wrong word. Culturally intricate groups, right, that the Spanish conquistadors are actually going to come into contact with. And that's what we're going to start talking about tomorrow, okay? So, but give you a heads up, the Incas are going to rise to their height about 1400 AD, right around alongside the time that the Aztecs are doing the same thing. And they're going to be set in the Andes Mountains, which is in present-day Peru, okay? So their empire was over 1,200 miles long. Super, super far distance. To give you a heads up about how far that is, that's about the same distance from New York to Orlando, Florida. All right, so if you were to go from New York to Orlando, that's how big the Incan Empire was, right? And it contained over 12 million different people. Huge, even bigger than the Aztecs, right? They also, one really, really neat thing, is they had no inclinations of trading, right? The king organized the community in efforts to feed the people. They had a road system that spanned the entire empire. And here's the crazy thing. They never invented a single wheel, right? Some of you are like, well, how do they do any of this stuff if they don't have wheels? This is dumb. Mr. Terry's making stuff up. I heard he told a story about Mary Queen of Scots that wasn't true. No, that both of those stories are true. And they didn't have wheels. They didn't need them because they got these bad boys, right? The llamas. The llamas they actually use to carry and transport a lot of their different stuff. I'm sorry, I can't stand llamas. Like, they're mean. One bit me one time when I was younger. But anyway, it's goofy looking. All right, anyway, now, but sad llama, right? All right, anyway, this is really, really neat. Speaking of things that they did or did not invent, other stuff they didn't invent apparently, and I'm going to double check this on my little fact checking machine while I say this. According to some of my research, they never invented a written language. So Incan written language. So, aha, yeah, I knew it. Spoken word about a third of the population is believed to be the only written language of the Incan Empire is a system of different knots tied to ropes. Yeah, so the system is called quipus. All right, so this is the closest thing they have to a written language, right? These are, the closest thing the Incans ever had to a written language are these things called quipus, all right? This is called a quipu, spelled Q-U-I-P-O, all right? It's a system of keeping track of certain things. From what we know as a historical community, we believe that it's actually, what am I saying? We believe that it's the only written language that they have of the Incan Empire. It's a system of different knots tied in ropes attached to a longer cord, and it's called a quipu. Now, we don't really know how it works. A lot of research groups have been tasked with trying to figure this stuff out, but we really don't know everything specifically. But they're quipus, all right? So that's how they actually kept track of things. And this beautiful area is just to show how extremely civilized and intense they were. I'm trying to be nice to this one. Come here. So this is Josie. This is her hair. She has buns because she can't see. Anyway, so that right there, that's Machu Picchu, right? That's actually their religious capital, okay? So it's on top of one of the mountains in the Andes. Are you looking at the window? All right, so, anyway. Hello. Say hello, Josie. All right, anyway, now, so this is Machu Picchu, right? So really, really cool things about this, though, is just to show you how advanced they are. They actually successfully terraced off this entire top part, and what I'm getting at, just to show you, is that the government is going to build over 14,000 miles of road through the mountains that connected the cities to the empire, right? So that's just to show you how intensely orchestrated the government was with the Inca. Hi, Speedy. Rufio, come here, buddy. Come here. The government's going to build over 14,000 miles of infrastructure and road. Like, this is some stuff that, like, the Romans even did, right? Like, the Romans legit had, like, advanced systems like that of infrastructure, taxation, message carrying, right? The only things the Romans maybe had was, like, for example, like a written language, right? They used Latin. They actually wrote down things. They were much more, like, culturally advanced in that way. Really cool thing about the Inca, a little fun fact though, apparently they had so much gold that they actually didn't know what to do with all of it. So they actually ended up even making like armor for it for their royal guardsmen that actually guarded the king. Oh, you want to get down? So anyway, keep going forward though. They also, really cool thing, are going to develop intense farming techniques for the mountains. So we talked about the chinampas, right, for the Aztecs. We talked about the slash and burn techniques of the Maya. We didn't talk about a lot about the Olmecs and Nazcas. We only have some small little things about them left. But farms are going to be created by the Inca on mountains on these things called terraces, all right? So and that's actually really cool. And a terrace is when they would cut a notch into the mountain and to make a field out of it for farming. And I'll show you a picture of it right here. Speaking of more llamas, right? This is terrace farming, right? It's very intricate, very cool. But this is literally up the side of a mountain. And the Incas created entire agricultural systems based off these terraces, right? And they're not the only ones that did it. Same thing. Like, if you ever go back and watch one of my travel vlogs, I went to Cinque Terre, which is an area on the coast of the Mediterranean. They did the same thing. They still do the same thing, except they grow olives and grapes up that way. I don't know what the Incas grew. Extra credit. Whoever comes in and tells me first one item that the Incas grew on these terraces, I'll give you extra credit points on your next test. Or on the last test. Guess some of y'all need it. Anyway, so check it out. They were the first people to also perform crazy successful surgeries. They had anesthetics, antiseptics, and also used surgical techniques to try and relieve pressure of the skull. So they're a very intricate, very well-known society. And an anesthetic, just to give you a heads up, is a chemical that renders the human body unconscious or unresponsive to pain, all right? Now, Americans and other Westerners didn't develop abilities to use anesthetics up until like the late 1700s, right? You would literally in the 1700s in America, if you got shot in the leg and they had to cut it off, you had to do it with no drugs whatsoever. That's aggressive. But the Inca had figured it out 300 years before they ever did. So just to give them some credit, imagine if they had some access to some real metals. Now, to give you a heads up, some commonalities between all of these people has to do with a lot of different things. First and foremost, they have one male ruler, right? They're autocratic, I guess you could call it an autocratic monarchy. They're much more like a theocracy because they believed that their kings were actually relatable to gods. Nobles were military leaders and handled all the government business, all right? So they had a nobility structure. They almost had a feudal system. Like, they weren't that different than all the Europeans, right? They just were a little behind the game. Now, the majority of the people were farmers. They're polytheistic. They all believe in different types of human sacrifice, which is really interesting. There's actually Incan. I gotta show you. Let's just set your ball to Incan mummy sacrifice. All right. Anyway, there's actually all these Incan mummies, and it's very cool. And there you go. They're actually child sacrifices by the Inca. And they would actually be mummified in the ice and in the snow. Look how well preserved they all are. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, they're like 500 years old, and so they all actually did different sacrifice methods for the most part, anyway. And then where am I back? Back here? Okay, cool. And then they also all participated in different things like games, like Pac to Pac. All right, so the Incas did not. That game is really similar. The only major difference is the Maya, I think, had a ramp on their court, whereas the Aztecs did not. I'm trying to see if I have anything else up here. And that's, of course, some like human sacrifice shenanigans. Oh, yeah. These are, of course, other human sacrifice like drawings and things like that from the Mayan civilizations. As you can see they kick the bodies down the pyramid steps. More sacrifice stuff, which is just really cool. As you can see, remember, this is Sam right here. Hi, Sam. And then this is Pac to Pac. This is the Mayan model using their hips to hit the ball. And this is the Aztec model of Pac to Pac. Look how big the hoop is in comparison to the ball. Could you imagine trying to get it up there without actually having to be able to use your hands or your head or your feet? It'd be insane. But we're going to wrap it up. All right, so tomorrow, if we don't have school, we'll have another flip discussing Columbus and his interactions with the Taínos, Cortez, his interactions with the Aztecs, and Pizarro's interactions with the Incas, right? So now that we know who these people are, though, they'll be easier for us to understand the Spanish and how they interacted with them when they showed up. So, very good stuff. Very proud of y'all. Very good job with y'all crushing material lately. Y'all are almost caught the regular kids, and we're like literally right there on their heels, all right? So, very good stuff. I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a great evening. Honors.